Hey there guys, how's it going? Reaper here, and I'm back with another painting video. And we're back to Zombicide, as we are always. This every other week I do a Zombicide video. This time around we're doing the Siege Breaker, which is another one of the abomination style creatures. Because I want to do all the villains first, because I feel like I'm going to use them more than I'm going to use the NPCs. As with NPCs you sort of just pick one and go with that, whereas monsters, all of them have the chance of popping up, so I figured let's start with them. We prime this in our standard grey paint as always, and we're starting with the flesh with Banshee Brown, because I want to do it quite pale as it is an undead creature, but it's going to eventually look really dirty as well, which is what we want, as zombies shouldn't be clean. They should never be clean. Zombies they're already dead for one thing, which means they've had to have died somehow, so there's going to be blood stains and dirt and things all over them. So we want a bit of a dirty creature today. And this is Banshee Brown, and it is covering pretty much the entire model because it is mostly just flesh, this model. As you can see, I am going over with a second coat as well, because Banshee Brown, although it covers well, it doesn't cover enough. So the grey was still showing through slightly, it was making it really weird colour. So if you just go over it again, it'll just give you that colour that you want. And that's the same with most paints, to be honest. Any paint, it is best to do thin layers and then work up to the colour you want instead of doing one thick layer, because that will cover a lot of the detail. But, oh, we've already skipped it, but that was the end of Banshee Brown, and we move on to Rough Iron. And this is just for it's basically his entire arm, it's armoured, but it's the only part of his body, and he's got a weird belt buckle. It's a strange setup, but I'm guessing that's used for shoulder barging or something like that originally. That's the end of the metallic parts, and then we move on to hemp rope, and this is just for his loincloth, and he has straps holding his arm on, so I used that as well. So I didn't want to go with a leather color, as it's just going to be a lot of browns otherwise, and this is a browny color. It's more of a yellowy brown, so sort of an ochre area, which just it makes it stand out a little bit and differentiates between all the different browns. No, that's it for hemp rope. And then we're moving on to desert yellow. And this is essentially the base coat for all the teeth, fingernails and toenails. As he's got quite large tusks, I figured it would have to be two-tone, otherwise it would look strange. So I went with a dark colour first, and I'll come back afterwards once it's dried and go over it again, just to lighten it back up. But obviously leave the bit around the base. I also did cover, he's got sort of boils and things. In the artwork, these are purple, which I'm finding with Zombicide, the more I look at the artwork, there's a lot of purple things in there. And it doesn't seem to fit right for the situation. So I've gone with desert yellow for all the extra boils and bits. And then after desert yellow, I've gone on to chaotic red. And this is inside of mouth, eyes, and he's got like cuts and scratches all over his body. So I've just used my detail brush. I'm just going to fill them in. And then once the wash goes on, it'll sort of dirty that up and it'll look like they're old wounds, but at the same time, still quite deep wounds. And now we're on to the first part of the highlighting stage, which I'm going to do all the highlights before the wash this time, as I'm going to do quite an extreme highlight on some things and the wash will blend it and it will make it look more natural. But for the first highlight is the skin, and that is corpse pale. And this is same with all highlights, any raised area or any area that isn't recessed. And this will essentially turn the mini into that color instead of the other color, but still have some definition between them. Yeah, as you can see, I did pretty much paint the entire skin again, but obviously I left out slight details as you need that definition. Otherwise it'll just be a block mini with a brown wash once it's done. But now we move on to highlights of the loincloth, and I've gone for quite an extreme highlight on this because I've gone from hemp rope to necrotic flesh. Necrotic flesh, as you can see, is a very light color, but I'm relying on the wash here to basically fix that and make it blend and look more natural. now we're done with necrotic flesh, we're on to skeleton bone. And this is what I was saying before. You just touch up the top, good 3/4 of the tusk should be skeleton bone, but the base of it should still look that desert yellow color. And then the same with the fingernails. I've just done a slight line on the tip, which is quite difficult to, considering there's not a lot of fingernail to work with in the first place. So it's entirely up to you if you guys want to do it that way. It's just, I had to paint out, so I figured I'd give it a go. Now onto the final highlight of the model, which is Army Painter's gunmetal. And this is just for the edges of all the metallic parts, as it's going to be worn down. Rough iron, although it is a good color for worn metal, the edges are still going to be chipped and bright. So gunmetal just adds that to it, but not in the same level as shining silver would, which is, if we went with shining silver, I think it would look too much. Now with that gunmetal, it's a dark silver color, or the darkest silver color I own. So I wanted to go with that one just to make it sort of pop a little bit, but not draw the eye away from the rough iron. And that's all the highlights. Then we move on to the wash tile, and it is soft tone. The entire model, apart from the metallics, is done with soft tone, as it is the best way to blend in that type of grimy dirt that I'm trying to create. And now we move on to the dark tone, and this is just for the metallic parts. It takes a bit of the shine away, but keeps it shiny. So it adds that depth to the all the little recesses and creases, as well as it dulls metallics quite well. Like, it'll keep them shiny, but it won't make them sparkle as such. Like that, as you can see, it's dulled down, but it's still shiny. And as with all the minis, I finished with a black base. There we go. As you can see, that's end of the model, end of the video. I've actually quite enjoyed this model. I'm starting to think I enjoy painting just flesh models is brilliant to paint. And I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Like, subscribe if you did enjoy, and drop us a comment if you want us to do a specific model from the Green Horde set. And I'll catch you next time. See ya.